Welcome to Your Unique Brilliance podcast with Nicola Salter, bringing you a weekly fresh flow of guidance, inspirations, powerful tips, and conversations designed to help you create your vision, discover your greatest diamond potential, and begin living the life you want. This is about empowering your truth, your choice, and your voice. Hello, and welcome back to Your Unique Brilliance podcast with me, Nicola Salter. And in today's episode, we're talking about what it takes to help us all stay productive, curious, balanced, without the burnout, and staying in your brilliance, along with how to stay in your 5 main elements of well-being. And I'm very delighted today, we're very lucky, and I'm very excited to introduce our guest, who is my friend, colleague, and wonderful therapist, Laura Rhodes-Levin, who is always in her brilliance. Hello, Laura.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, I'm so good. I'm so excited to be doing this today with you. So thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Well, I'm going to give our listeners a little bit more information about you. Laura is a licensed therapist and author who specializes in the evaluation and treatment of anxiety, depression, and trauma. She holds a Master of Science in Counseling and is known for her unique approach in the understanding of anxiety and anxiety disorders. Laura is the founder of the Missing Piece Center for Anxiety, which is a facility in Agiura Hills, California, that offers a variety of modalities, including psychotherapy, neurofeedback, play therapy, olfactory anxiety reduction, group therapy, movement, and a lot more, to help ease your nervous system, restore your brain, body, and your mind to a place of calmness and relaxation. I'm also extremely honored to work with Laura there. And Laura, you've done an amazing job. How long have you had the center?
Oh gosh, in this iteration, because it's grown over the years since 2017.
Amazing. And now more than ever, and not just because of the pandemic, we're seeing that negative emotions are on the rise and have been actually for the last decade. Are you seeing a lot of this in the work you're doing personally and at the center?
Yeah, absolutely. If our brains are fed a steady diet of fear and worry and potential hate surrounding us, which you take COVID and the political environments, no matter what side of the coin you're on, even in Europe, we had Brexit. There's a cosmic consciousness out there where there's a lot of fighting and fear going on. And so when those negative feelings are so pervasive, unless you have the tools to say, not my circus, not my monkey. I can't stand that phrase. It just came out of my mouth, but
it's relevant. Yes.
Then you're going to be subject to feeling what they're putting out there.
You know, it's very true. So, I mean, what you're saying is our environment, of course, is impacting our well-being and how we're reacting to it. And you're right, without the tools, it's almost impossible for us to manage the stress of this and not even know that we can build our resilience to this. And none of us are given the tools when we're born and we go to school. None of this is shown to us. And I think this is what's so wonderful about the center, is because we can come, or people can come and learn the tools and methods to manage stress, reduce anxiety and panic. And there's, of course, so much more because of what's going on around us. And you're right. I mean, there's never been quite the intensity that there has been in the last 3 years in terms of environmental factors. And, you know, stress is costing American employers around $300 billion a year. And that $300 billion is in turnover, absenteeism, and a reduction in productivity and loss of services. And it was the Eastern Kentucky University who gave those statistics. And what they're seeing, as well as Gallup surveys seeing, is that employees at work who are not thriving in their lives are much more vulnerable and add risks to the businesses that they're working for. And of course, we're getting to see at the center these employees coming to the center because they're so burnt out and they don't have the tools. And of course, then the organizations are missing out because their employees are having to take time off. So according to Gallup, and I'll just put these numbers out there and then we'll move into more questions with you. 61% of people at work are likely to experience burnout quite often or always now, compared to a few years ago. And 48% of people are more likely to report a daily stress than they used to. 66% are more likely to experience worry, and twice the number of people are more likely to report a daily sadness and anger affecting them than ever before. So, Laura, the business culture here in the US compared to Europe is, of course, very different. Generally, people have less vacation time here than they do in Europe. And I think also, to add to your comment about the environment, with inflation happening to us right now, many people are holding down 2 and even 3 jobs. And this is obviously also contributing to the rise in negative emotions and the feeling of burnout and anxiety and, resentment, tiredness, and overwhelm. What do you think, in the last 7 years of what you've been seeing at the center, what do you think organizations could do more of to help their employees?
It's such a great question. I think there was a point where some corporations were getting a handle on this, on, meditation, on
Mhm.
things that seem much more Eastern culture, but were in fact essential to productivity. There were some corporations that did these experiments that at 10 to the hour, everyone had to take a break,
Mm,
whether it was take a walk around the block, breathe, whatever that break looked like. Again, productivity really went up. And I don't want to say all corporations, because a lot of corporations, I think, are becoming broader minded and looking at their employees as a whole. And I hope that that's where the good ones are moving, even the bad ones.
mhm,
But you talk about vacations, things like that.
mhm.
What about the way people sometimes roll their eyes at the idea of a mental health day,
Yes.
or just certain things within, like a lot of the work that you do? If corporations would bring someone in like you to work with their employees and have access to that kind of stuff, just 10 minutes a day here and there, or once a month,
Mhm,
uh, it goes such a long way. As much as I love a 2-week vacation, I find that little restorative, consistent breaks are way more effective for my long-term sustainability. I don't need to run a marathon and take a break. I
mm.
want to, run a little bit, take a break, always be going strong. And I think, and I hope corporations really consider this, that it's spending dimes to save dollars, really giving humanity a chance to thrive inside the building,
Mm,
dealing with their needs so that they really are feeling good and refreshed on a regular basis. And it
mm.
doesn't take that much. It really doesn't. A little goes a long way as long as it's consistent.
You're right. Just building a daily habit for your workforce doesn't mean spending thousands and thousands of dollars in training. It's showing them methods and tools that are effective and work, and things that we've used at the center for years that are science proven and really make a difference very quickly. And it also, don't you think, it gives the employees a sense of self-reliance and self-care that they can not only do at work, but they can do at home and then share with their partners and families.
Yeah, and I think they respect the corporations for it. I think when
Mm,
corporations deny the humanity to a degree, people take their own breaks playing solitaire or doing something, because it's sort of like a big, oh
mm,
yeah, well, if you're not going to take care of me, I'm going to take care of me.
mhm,
And I think that we learned a lot through COVID, that the idea that if you're not watching people 24 hours a day, they're not going to work. A
mm,
lot of productivity went up during COVID when people were working at home,
mhm.
because we innately want to do well.
Yeah.
So why not encourage that in the corporate environment? Why not encourage wellness? Um, and then the business is also experiencing the benefits of that.
Well, of course. I mean, the employees are going to deliver a higher performance if they can schedule their own hours. And the new hybrid work culture, I know, has created such problems for organizations here with people not wanting to go back into the regular 5-day work routine, and employees feeling a lot more productive, doing their own schedules, and also having the time then to pick up the kids from school. And it just gives everyone such a quality of life, much more than we had before. And you're right, this is one of the surprising benefits of the pandemic and how things have changed so much. And just to add to your comment, which I think is very valid, employees will take care of themselves no matter what. And this is one of the reasons we've seen great, droves of people leaving organizations and joining other organizations that do place value on wellness and well-being. I mean, let's not forget, wellness is great in the workplace for meditation and Pilates and group work, bless you, but also
on the truth.
it's the truth. It's the truth. But wellness has been a great introduction through meditation and group work and getting outside the office. But then, of course, there's the mental health, which is the well-being side, which we're really just beginning to jump into and recognize as a very important part of a workforce's relationship with their employers, and being made to feel important, that value is placed on them. So so now we're moving more into the mental health aspect, which is about the well-being. And
sorry,
no, go.
Well, and they're finding in droves of evidence that when you're mentally healthy, your physical health is completely different.
Exactly.
And I wonder, like, if I were a big corporation, why not use that to draw people in to say, hey, if you're coming back to work, look what we're providing. We recognize how important mental health and wellness is. So these are the things that we're going to provide for you. And, then you've got a motivated workforce.
Exactly. More engaged. And then, of course, they take care of your customers and your services and, increase productivity. So it's a beautiful circle that benefits everybody and doesn't take a ton of investment to do so.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't take a lot. And in fact, my recent program that I'm just launching called Reset helps individuals at work become more self-reliant.
It's such a great program.
Thank you. Thank you. And it takes everything that, I've done at the center with you, with our clients, and introduces also mindset growth. It introduces how to build more emotional intelligence at work, how to become more resilient with all of these science-proved methods that often have been seen as holistic, but are now coming into the mainstream, using all of the tools that we use so that, the workforce employees can use these tools for themselves to manage their stress, to create better boundaries, retrain their mindsets for growth, improve emotional intelligence so they can have much more coherent conversations with people at work and their colleagues, meet deadlines, speak up, grow their confidence. And
why not take it one step further?
Uh-huh.
Why don't the people running the companies avail of this to themselves?
Yes.
Like, it's lovely to give it to your employees. And we use the word holistic, but what's really coming to the forefront is the quantum field. Quantum physics and quantum science is becoming so much more recognized. And what you're really speaking of is energy. And you are going to tune into productive and positive energies when you're in a productive and positive place. And they say it goes from the head down.
Yes.
So I think that the heads of these corporations availing it to themselves, changing their energy, watching their relationships change, watching their frequencies change, I would only imagine would then motivate them to have it trickle down the line. Like, it's just a big fountain. Fill that fountain up and let it flow.
And let it flow. You're lovely. And yes, because working with HR just recently, HR employees and in leadership are under huge stress trying to balance all the needs of the employees, trying to meet leadership's needs and goals. They're like the bridge in between, learning all these new things they've had to learn from COVID and the pandemic, and retaining staff. And now the stress levels for them is huge. So it's like, take these tools into HR, show HR how they can use it for themselves to calm, build resilience for themselves. And then they can then show the workforce some of these tools and methods, which again, they're holistic, but they've been around for years and they're science proven. And as you said, there's a great deal of quantum physics behind this. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's interesting because I think people often think, oh my gosh, it's going to take a long time to do this. It's going to be something else I have to learn on top of everything else I'm doing. And what they're not understanding is that this is such a great investment in themselves. You're making a great investment in building resiliency so you don't become as triggered, reactive. You don't release all that cortisol, that stress hormone through your system, which then can lead to panic attacks and anxiety and all the things we see at the center. You're taking preventative steps so that you don't get to suffer and have to take time out of your life and not do the things you love doing. So, you know, this is what
So
I
you
love
don't
about
break
this.
down, essentially. I mean,
Right.
who likes to stop for gas or
Right.
take the car in for the tune-up? But it saves you a lot of money in the long run, and your car is running so much better.
It does, and I love that analogy. And as I say to clients, I say to them, look, you know, you couldn't drive a car when you were 12, or maybe you could, but most people couldn't. You couldn't drive a car when you were 12, but you took driving lessons and suddenly you could drive a car. And it didn't take long to train your brain to learn how to do this new skill. And
Absolutely.
it's the same with investing in building resilience for yourself and reducing the stress and the burnout and the overwhelm by just learning some new tools. And I think this is what the Missing Piece is, one of the things that the Missing Piece Center does, that you've created. And it helps to support individuals coming in with burnout, but also you're giving them some great tools to help with their recovery and help them get back into the workplace and their own lives. And what do you think makes the Missing Piece so different to other IOPs out there?
Well, I'm not aware, at least, of any intensive outpatient programs that don't somehow include drug and alcohol addiction. You know,
Mm-hmm.
as a marriage and family therapist, I find that we happen in a system. We don't happen in a vacuum. And, you know, I was afraid there was a bear in my closet when I was 4. I don't know why, until I studied and I learned that we inherit a lot of our emotions. We're raised by the people who have dysfunctional emotions and coping skills that they were raised with. And I think at the Missing Piece, as much as I think I'm a good therapist,
You
I
are.
think talk is, thank you, and so are all our therapists here, but talk is limited, right?
Mm.
If your dog is stressed out, you're not going to say, what triggered you, Fluffy? You're going to calm that animal down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I really like to concentrate on the body electric,
Mm-hmm.
what sort of energy we're taking in. And when I say energy, I really want to refer back to the physics of it all
Yeah.
that lie in our bodies and in our energy fields. And once we calm those down,
Mm-hmm.
now we can start thinking about things differently. That's when the talk therapy really starts to take off. So the combination of all the things that you do, that are art therapy does, or movement, or neurofeedback, all these things put together are what make a difference. I think a lot of places is just group after group after group of talking,
Yeah.
and that's great, but you know, you can't put 10 eggs in an oven and get a cake. You need to put some eggs, you need to put some flour, you need to put that little bit of vanilla. I don't know what it does, but God forbid we should miss it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like I've been very lucky to glean from the quantum world, if you will, a recipe that helps people achieve wellness and leave with it, because these
Yes.
are all tools that we teach you. Take this home. I mean, that's where you really see the difference. Is
Mm-hmm.
one thing to teach the tools, but it's another thing to teach them
Yes.
how to use them at home. And when you incorporate these at home, it's beautiful. It's a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful thing to do. And like you said at the beginning, we don't learn this stuff in school.
I
Yes,
know.
we learn math and
Mm-hmm.
we learn things, but we don't learn how to take care of ourselves, how not to take things personally. And
Mhm.
it just all builds up until we break down. And we
Yeah,
bring it into the workplace with
we
anger
do.
and frustration and
Yep.
passive aggressive,
Yep.
BS.
Yep, yep, we do. And we don't recognize that we are doing that. And we start to make choices based on
Yes.
this reactivity and emotions from the past and experiences that we've had. And at the center, you get to learn how to address these and, like, well, actually, most importantly, identify it first and then move forward with the changes that you can make and the commitment you want to make. Because as we know, and we've heard this so many times, it can take time, and building up a regular daily habit of using a new tool for yourself. It's like cleaning your teeth with your toothbrush. Instead of using your left hand, using your right hand,
Right.
um, using a different part of your brain to build a new daily habit can take time. And we're so immersed in a culture where everything has to be so immediate,
Oh,
so immediate that people will come to see me. They're coming to the center with an idea that, I'm going to be okay in 4 weeks. And it's like, well, it's taking you 45 years to get here with all those experiences that you've had and emotions. It might take a little longer than 4 weeks. It might not, but it might take a little longer if you're going to dig deep. Um, and so just getting people to understand that, and that it's okay that it's going to take time. It doesn't have to be done overnight. Take the pressure off people. It's okay
yeah.
to dive deep. It's okay to just be curious about yourself for a change. I think it's also part of the work. It's so important to take that pressure off yourself.
Well, it's also part of the excitement of it,
Yes.
right? Because, yes, what if we could snap our fingers and make ourselves better? It all sounds lovely, but the phrase journey, not the
Yeah.
destination, is really misunderstood in that I don't think people realize how much richness there is in slow, deep, thoughtful healing
Yeah.
where, wow, I slept tonight. That's an
Yes.
amazing feeling. Why would you ever want to just pass all those little hurdles up?
Uh-huh.
They really enrich it, and you really appreciate it as it's happening. So
Mm-hmm.
there's so many things that happen along the way that are great to take time to realize. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just about the end game.
No, it's not. And I love that that you say that, because people haven't been shown that. They don't know that. And it's all about results and the final destination. Well, we never reach our final destination. It's always a journey.
Well, there's
And
so many little side trips that we never even knew we wanted to take.
yeah, yeah. And the amount of people that say, I didn't know this about myself,
Right.
and they take it, as it's their normal, that they only get 4 hours of sleep a night.
Right.
And they're like, well, I've got used to operating on 4 hours of sleep. Well, how does that affect your work? How do you get to make clear choices and be on purpose and clear when you're not getting enough sleep and it's become their normal? And then suddenly they realize, why am I not getting enough sleep?
Right. And I think what you and I have just been so lucky to see at the center is how people take the growth that they're experiencing within themselves and then take it into the workplace.
Yes.
They're suddenly coming up with ideas that they never would have come up with on an empty tank.
Yes.
And it's so exciting to watch.
It is exciting. I think it's the best job in the world, just watching people transform and being a part of it. I mean, that's why I feel so grateful to be able to work with you at the center, because we're just constantly shining this spotlight on people, and hopefully, illuminating a path that they can choose to follow, and just watching them make their choices and guiding them when they're needing it on the
Yeah.
way is tremendously exciting. And so many people come, and they think it's self-decadent to
Yeah.
do this kind of work. And I'm like, no, being curious about yourself is one of the most valuable lessons that you can learn. Why you have these reactions, what lies behind these reactions, where did these emotions come from, and then how to change it. And
And
not,
watching that light come on in their
yeah,
eyes.
yeah, exactly. And then the sense of feeling, they're being listened to, they're being seen,
Mhm.
and feeling part of something is also this. And so, you know in the reset program I've created, it helps people to define what underlying emotions, and of course there are many, but what's triggering you in the first place. Once you understand what it is, you can give yourself some self-compassion of, oh, this is why I behave like this. But being honest with yourself in the first place is absolutely key, and just enjoying the journey and staying curious. You know, in terms of underlying emotions and what people experience, Laura, from the past, and why we react the way we do, and then how we want to change that. I mean, I'm a huge advocate for that, as are you, for helping people manage their anxiety and overwhelm. What are your thoughts on, like, we're defining what might be triggering us, and then steps we can take to make a difference? What are your thoughts on distracting our minds away from our stress and retraining our brains with new daily habits?
Well, you know, it always cracks me up when we talk about distracting our minds, when actually it's the other way around. Our minds distract us. It's why people like to drink, because it shuts their brain up. Luckily, I haven't had a drink in a long time because I was an overachiever in that field. But the point of it is they didn't care about taxes or worry, or the music was good and the food tastes good and they got to be with who they were with. And so it's really about, to say, let the present moment distract you, is actually what we feel like we're doing, when it's the complete opposite. Our brains are distracting us from what's happening right here in the moment. And most of the time, right here in the moment, we're okay.
We are.
We really are okay. And if we're not, then worrying about it isn't going to change anything. It's only by being here in the moment and what can I do in the here and now that is going to fix anything. So
Beautiful.
the best way to stay present is tune into your six, not five, six senses. There's probably more than that, but and I always challenge people, start thinking about a problem you have. Now, look at the fireplace, put on some good music, smell something good, do these all at the same time, and see if you could even remember what you were worried about. Your brain can't do that many things at the same time. So if you engage your senses, which is where your work has been so powerful for us and is essential to what we do, is to rather distract the noise and be present in the moment.
And be present in the moment, yes. And that's something that, you know, most of us haven't had an opportunity to do or learn. And then when we do, we start to realize that being present and just focusing on, this is the now, how's this going to affect me in the next 5 hours? Or how's this going to affect me tomorrow? How's this going to affect me in a week? And the truth is, we don't remember. The experience of the stress just becomes softer and softer until in like 5 years' time, you look back and you won't remember, oh yeah, today, Friday, I remember that day for that full hour when I had all that stress with so-and-so. You just don't remember.
It doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen. So as we're saying here to everyone listening, you know, just being present with where you are in the moment helps to soften down the volume down on that noise, as Laura was saying. And I think it's a great way of explaining it. Thank you so much for putting it that way. I think it's very valuable for everyone to hear. And as we move forward, you know, I mentioned at the beginning of, as we started, that according to Gallup, now I am keeping in a structured, researched way here, but I think it's very important and useful for discussion here. The 5 main elements of well-being that Gallup has discovered, and the 5 main elements are for feeling really good, are feeling good at work, financially, in your community, feeling good physically, and also feeling good with your social side of your life. And these have been the 5 main areas that have just keep cropping up through their surveys, where people will find well-being when they're happy at work, when the finances, which of course is self-explanatory, are feeling good, but they're also part of the community. They're also doing physical work, like walking or just being active. And then there's that social well-being, of course, of being connected with friends. And finding balance in each of these areas is quite an art, I think. And I do feel, I wanted to bring this up, that I feel it means creating boundaries to find balance in each of these 5 areas, and making daily habits and a discipline, if you like, to make sure you spend equal amounts of time in each area. And I've got a bad habit of overworking, because I like what I do. So hours will tick by on the clock. But of course, the problem with that is then that I haven't seen friends or family. And of course, it's not all about work, work, work. It's about being with others and enjoying all those other areas of your life. So part of my goal for, the coming year is to step out more into community, and to be with community, and to help, and maybe do some volunteer work, because that's another great way of feeling very present and feeling of service, which can also help to reduce stress. What do you find is a typical imbalance in one of these 5 areas that I've just mentioned at the center?
Well, I think what you said is so accurate, in that going back to what I was saying earlier, it takes more than eggs to make cake. You need the balance. And the thing about boundaries is, I think even the word boundary sounds very forbidding. It sounds very like a line is being drawn.
Yeah.
And so when I think a lot of people, when they're setting boundaries, they feel like they're being bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
And setting boundaries does not make you a bad guy. It makes you a healthy guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I don't know why this visual just came into my mind, but if you have this huge body of water, and you can feed 5 valleys with this body of water, you've got to build dams, right? You have to section it off,
Mm-hmm.
so that everything grows and is wonderful. And boundaries are kind of like dams, right?
Yeah.
And so giving yourself permission and having the clarity to say, all work and no play makes Nicola a dull boy, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it does.
Or any of us. And in all those ways, we get endorphin rushes, right? In each of the areas, when you do well at work, when you're in community, we get those rushes. But
Mm-hmm.
some of us get it more in other areas than others, so we tend to overdo it in that area, ultimately getting burnout. But the thing you said about community, really, it just rings so true to me, because the more and more I do this, and look, I really like my alone time too.
Yeah.
We are social animals. We are pack animals.
Mm-hmm.
It does take a village. We do need to surround ourselves with others. And the worlds that we have designed today are so isolated. They're so here. And when we go here, it's almost become like bad to ask for help. I can do this myself. I'm as strong and me.
That's right.
And we need each other. We need each other. And there's something we get from each other that we can't get from anything else. So community is so, so important.
It is. And with the new hybrid work culture, just circling right back to the workforce organizations during the pandemic, we did get used to being isolated. And one of the problems with all the Zoom calls is that, people feel lonely. So rebuilding your community, making the effort to get out there, and even just having someone you can just talk to and walk together, and just during a lunch break and talk, is so important. And it makes you feel part of something. And as you said, it's one of as a human species, it's what we crave. It's who we are. Yeah, no, brilliant. Thank you very much for that. And I think that was a great highlight on boundaries. I will remember that damn analogy.
It just like I just got the visual for the first time.
I love it. You need to use that again. Put this in your book, which we're going to come to in a short moment. as we begin to move towards the end of our episode today, I just wanted to also emphasize the fact that, there can be so much pressure on not having stress. Okay.
Right? Just out
so,
about it.
yeah. So let's think about this. And of course, we are designed to have stress to light a fire under us to get us out of difficult situations. But the key, everyone, is not to keep those difficult situations continuing. You need to reset and to move away, take a step out. You need sometimes to have that stress to do a presentation, to be on point, to be in focus, but then step away. Give yourself 5-10 minutes to just unwind, empty your mind, be present, as Laura was saying, taking the colors, your senses, just bring yourself back to present. So it's not terrible to have stress. It can be very useful. Do you want to add anything to that, Laura?
Yeah, our brains are designed to detect danger, but
Mm-hmm.
what we need to do is focus on all the things that we have done. When it's at the end of the day and you're like, oh, I still have 4 things to do. Take a moment to acknowledge the 20 things you
Yes.
already did, which seem to just like they don't count somewhere. So count it all.
Yeah.
Look at the stressors and look at the successors. Successes.
Love it. Well, stresses and successes, I think, is a good phrase. That's great. Yeah, so I'm hoping everyone can hear that, and they're getting little nuggets of wisdom from today's episode to support them at work, at home, and in their lives. And finally, Laura, I know that you've been working on a book, and I am very excited to hear more about this. Could you share with us more about your book and when it's coming out?
Absolutely. I have a delivery date of May, so it'll be a little bit, but it's called The Missing Piece, like
of course,
divine, PEAC.
Yeah.
Rewire your brain, reduce anxiety, and recreate your life. And a lot of therapists will, when they're writing a book, they'll use their clients as an example. This is more about the lessons I've learned in my life and how the tools that I've gained from them and how I've been able to pass them on. It's got some humor in it. It's got some heavy stuff in it. But the idea is to change your radio station, to change the noise, the chaos, the fear, and really start tuning into where you want to be and how to make that happen.
Wonderful. The name in of itself, as is the same as Missing Piece Center for Anxiety that you've created. This sounds a beautiful extension. And knowing you, how much color you bring to the world, how much experience, and the way you help us all visualize things so clearly to get and access answers for ourselves, I know it's going to be spectacular. I am super excited to read it. I'm hoping that we'll have a launch party.
Well, if I can't. So sorry, go ahead.
And I'm hoping that we're going to hear from you in a moment where we're going to be able to find it. And, this is going to be May 2023 that this is coming out. So what were you going to say before I move into?
May 2023 is when I deliver it. So from what I understand about the publishing world, it may be quite a bit longer than that. But I really wanted to say thank you to you and to all that you do, all the wisdom that I've gained from you. So grateful for the literally hundreds of people that you have changed under my roof. And I'm so excited for anyone who and I'm really not just saying this. This is a powerful, insightful, deep, connected woman who can change people's paths. And so it's an honor to be on this podcast, and it's an honor to have you in my frequency. So thank you.
Thank you, Laura. For the first time, I don't have any words. That was very kind of you. Thank you. And I couldn't do what I'm doing without you having found me, created the center, and allowing me to come in and do what I love doing. So for me, this is a huge thanks to you and all that you do. And I know that you're going to continue soaring in the work you do and all your creativity. People need to hear you. how you see the world and solutions you provide, but just so they can read and listen to, hear your voice, and really get some clarity that will help them thrive. And that's what you do every day. And you're amazing. And on that note, I would love to hear anything in terms of a nugget of wisdom based on everything we've said today. Is there a nugget of wisdom you would like to share with everyone out there? Anything that comes to mind?
Call Nicola.
Oh, okay. You're adorable. Thank you so much. And thank you. Where can we all find you? Where can we find you on social media, website? Please share with us.
So on Instagram, I am at The Missing Piece. I'm also the quantum therapist. You can find us if you Google the Missing Piece Center for Anxiety. Again, peace spelled P-E-A-C-E. And yeah, that's where I am.
That's where you are, and where you will be, and I am sure continue to keep elevating and expanding out into the world, shining your amazing light. Thank you so much. And I look forward to doing this again, I hope.
Thank you for listening to Your Unique Brilliance podcast. And if you want to define your brilliance and redefine your diamond potential, schedule a personal consultation with me to discover just how you can do that at nicolasalter.com. While you're there, make sure to subscribe to the show so you will never miss an episode. And if you found value in this show, I would appreciate a rating on iTunes, or simply tell a friend. That would be amazing. You are amazing. Have an empowered week, everyone.